I can breathe. What is this place? It's like a mystical bubble under the ocean. There's air down here. So guys, earlier I was exploring and just doing some, diving. And I found that there's this like pocket of air just sitting at the bottom of the ocean. So I thought it would be great, to come down here and just check it out. And, it turns out it's pretty stable down here. So I brought my whiteboard, I brought my markers and everything. And I think we're just going to do the lesson down here at the bottom of the ocean. So let's check some of your comments. Surprisingly, the Wi-Fi is not bad down here. Billy, with that perspective, you should be literally inside the sand. No. This is a bank. This is a sand bank. It's going up. Can't you see? Clearly. Let's see. Okay, SpongeBob. Yes. Hey, SpongeBob. Could have just called an aquarium. No. This is good. This is new. Does Billy have a video about knee insertion? I'm not sure quite what you mean. Okay. If you're talking about 수족관에 갇힌 빌리. 맞아. 스티치. 여기 수족관 아니라 바다라고. If you're talking about the sound change rules, Jason, yes, my Learn Hangul video covers all of those. Let's see. Just rewatch your other video. Nice. Someone asked, when's the live going to start? Well, it's actually already started. And we'll start the lesson in just a couple minutes. Before we start, though, anything, I had an announcement. Well, first of all, prerequisites for today's lesson are sol form and nika form. So if you're really fast, you can go watch the abridged version of the live stream that covers sol form and skip to just the part that talks about sol, as well as the lesson that covers nika. I think that was like my second or third live stream ever. So it's easy to find in the live stream list. So you want to make sure you know these before today's lesson. If you don't know these already, you won't be able to get any use out of today's lesson. Today's lesson is not necessarily only intermediate, but because you need these forms first, it's typically considered an intermediate level topic. The other thing I wanted to say is that it's actually been, as of, I think Monday, just last Monday, so 6 days ago, it's actually been over a full year now since I've started doing the live streams. Yes, a full year. I believe I started like August 10th or something like that last year, or 11th, I think. And yeah, so it's been a full year now of these live streams. There have been 37 live stream lessons. That's not counting like Q&As. I think I did a couple Q&As here and there. I did one where I did cooking before. But yeah, 37 lessons. And yeah, just wanted to say thanks everyone for sticking around, as well as welcome the people who have come here new. Sometimes this is their very first live stream whenever they come to here, and there's other people who I've seen your name every single time I've done live streaming. So thank you to everyone for coming here. Also, remember again to make sure you vote. Your vote does matter. So for all of these live streams, since except for the very first ones, I think they've all been based on your votes and your suggestions. So if you have any suggestions, you can leave them on the vote, but better is you can go into the Discord and you can leave suggestions there. So I'm active pretty often in our Discord. So if you leave suggestions there for topics you want to see, then if I think it's a topic, if I haven't already covered it, and if I think it's a topic that would be an interesting lesson, usually they are, then I'll add that to the voting list, and a lot of the times that's what wins. So this was also a topic suggested by a user, I think, from the Discord as well. And yeah, so if there's a topic you want to learn about that I haven't already done, come to the Discord. And if you want to know what I already have taught, check out my community tab. There's a Google Doc link that shows every single lesson I've done and the links to all of them. So you don't have to wonder if I've already taught something or not. You can just check it in that list. And then the other thing I wanted to suggest is for next week's, I'm not sure about this yet. I'm thinking for next week's lesson, if I don't do a regular lesson, I could also do another live stream where I teach a subscriber one-to-one. I did that one time before. It went pretty well. And if you guys are interested, I could also do that again. It doesn't have to be this week. I was just thinking maybe what about for this upcoming week or sometime soon. Let me know what you guys think about that in chat. I don't know, maybe Ahimong, if you want to do like a vote, who wants to get another live stream, another live one-to-one tutoring session with one of the subscribers this Sunday, or if I should do it another time. Let me just check the chat for another moment. Top 10 honorific verbs. I already covered those in the honorific live stream, actually. We chose the lesson. Yeah, that's true. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that I think is a great idea. It just has to be an idea I already haven't covered that I think is a full lesson. So some people have said, like, Billy, can you do a live stream about like all of the ways I can use the verb kada, like to go? I'm like, no, I mean, it wouldn't be a fun live stream because to go, I mean, it has many uses, but those uses would vary from like some beginner to some really advanced uses. And it would just kind of be all over the place and messy. So I wouldn't think like that type of stuff would make a good lesson. But other people might say, hey, could you do a lesson on, these particles? Or can you do a lesson on this grammar form? Or I never seen anyone teach about this before. That type of stuff is totally fine. So yeah, let me know your ideas and I might add them to the voting list. Billy's age is a secret? No, it's not a secret. I'm 33. Maybe I'll add a command to the bot, the chat bot. You'll do like !age, and it'll just update my current age. My age, how I learned Korean, how long have I been studying Korean, where I live, all that stuff. Oh, my current location. Maybe I'll make like, where is Billy now? whereisbillyrightnow.com. And it'll say like what city I'm in. And right now I'm in Los Angeles. But a few months ago, for several months, the whole spring to summertime, I was in Korea. I thought you were 32. I was 32. And then something strange happened. It's called time passed, and I turned 33. I was 32. I actually was 31 before as well. The beginning of last year, I was 31. Let's see. I'm 50. Anybody else older? I'm catching up, but just give me another 17 years and I'll get there. Someone asked, what about another Hanja lesson? I could, if people want to learn more. Last time was like a introduction to how it's useful. We didn't really do too much Hanja beyond there, but like I'm not a Hanja master. Like I've studied Hanja for a very long time, but beyond the basics, like how it's being used, I would need to do a very specific lesson to work beyond there, like, starting from how do we write these letters and, actually going over several letters one at a time. That's kind of what it would have to be if I were to do anything beyond that live stream. But I'm not sure if people are interested in just tuning in for 2 hours of me writing a bunch of characters and telling you what they mean and how to use them. Let me know if I'm wrong on that. Okay, so we should get started soon. Today's lesson is going to be about the form, obviously, nuda, nurago, nuragoyo, as you can see in the description. Again, we'll also be comparing this to the other forms, sol and nika, as I just had on the board and I just erased. But the bulk of today's lesson is going to be covering nurago, because if you understand nurago, you don't need to worry about comparing it and contrasting it to nika, because they are very different forms. And I think learning the form nurago by itself will help you already to know when to use sol or nika or nurago, because nurago does not just mean because. I guess that's why people want me to contrast it, because it has the same English meaning, the same English translation. It translates to because. Because. And the sol form can also translate to because, as well as the nika form. But the actual usage of this form, the way it works, is completely different from both of those. And I think that if you just learn this form by itself, that's good enough. You will know how to use it and when it's different than sol and how it's different than nika and everything like that. But we still will do a brief comparison between those two forms after we've covered this form. But I just want you to let you know, if you already know the nurago form really well, if you're already a master at using the nurago form, you will probably get nothing from today's lesson. If you kind of know this form, if you know that it means because, maybe you've learned that it means, oh, it's because of something negative. I've learned that before. It's because of something negative. If that's all you know, you'll get a lot out of today's lesson. Or if you don't know it, you'll get even more out of today's lesson. If you don't know how to write the alphabet in Korean, then you'll probably get nothing out of today's lesson. But go learn the alphabet first, and then come back, learn the sol form, learn the nika form, and then come back and learn here. Learn this nurago form. So we're going to go into nurago. So the way to use it is you take an action verb stem. Let's see. Tiffany, I'm a 7-year-old and a 20. Okay. Okay. I'm always a child at heart. All right, okay. So the way you take it is you can either use it as a verb connector, meaning you can have it in the middle of a sentence. If you do that, you won't use yo. You'll have action verb stem and nurago, and then you'll finish the rest of the sentence afterward. Or you can also use this, let me just turn down my air conditioner. You can also use this at the end of a sentence by just simply adding a period here, or a period after yo. So let me give you a quick example of that. This is not explaining how to use it. I'm just showing you examples. So we have hada, to do. So let's just say 하느라고 요. End of sentence. Or if you're talking with a friend, blah, 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 하느라고, period. Or if you want to add another sentence, 하느라고, blah, 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 period. That's how this can work. So you're not going to say 하느라고 요 and then, finish your sentence here. It'll be part of your sentence. But if you attach yo at the end, it has to be the end of your sentence. So the other thing I wanted to say is that 하다 is only an action verb if it's being used to mean to do. There are some adjectives, some descriptive verbs that end with 하다 that are not action. So like, for example, 심심하다, to be bored, ends with 하다, but it's not an action verb. So you could not say, you could not say 심심하느라고 because it would make no sense. You can only use this, therefore, you can only use this with action verbs. I just want to make that very clear. You cannot use this with descriptive verbs like 이다, to be, 있다, to exist, and then any other descriptive verb. It cannot be used with these because those are not action verbs. It has to be used with an action verb construction and only action verb constructions, not descriptive verbs. Okay, so that's the very first thing. But before I talk about exactly what it means and everything like that and tell you how you can and how you can't, there's more rules that you can't do with this. Let me just give you one quick example so you can kind of see what we're talking about. 지금, right now, 일하다 means to work. 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. 느라고 means because. But do not just write down that 느라고 means because you'll be wrong. 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. Literally, before we just talk about exactly how it means that, I am busy, 바빠요, from 바쁘다, to be busy, 바빠요, because, 하느라고, because working now. So now working because of this, I am busy. Or due to I am working now, I am busy. So I am busy because I am working. Now this isn't the most natural sentence. I mean, you don't really need to tell someone like, 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. I'm busy right now because I am working. You would just tell someone, I'm busy now, 지금 바빠요, right? You don't really need to be overly complicated in Korean. This is something that we do a lot in English. We'll give like long explanations of sentences. We'll say like, well, the reason I'm busy right now is because I'm actually working on a really important project, and that's fine in English, but in Korean, they typically get straight to the point. They'll talk a lot, but they'll talk about something else. They don't stay on the same sentence as long as we do in English. So in English, you would just say, well, in Korean, they would just say, I'm busy now, typically. But here's an example sentence. Grammatically, it's okay. 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. I am busy now because I am working. Here's just one example you can look at. The other thing I need to make clear is that this is only the action verb stem as it is. It is not the action verb past tense stem. It is not the action verb future tense stem. This is the action verb stem only. So, what I mean is, you would not say, actually, let me get rid of this marker. Let's get a new marker. I think I brought one into the ocean with me. Under the Sea. Sued by Disney. Yeah, I got one. Okay, we got a new marker. Good. Okay, what you could not say 일했어요. 했, this past tense, you would not say 일했느라고, because I worked. In addition, you also will not say 일하겠, 하겠습니다, 하겠다, future. 일하겠느라고. You also would not say this. These are both no-nos. Because it is only with the present tense. So this makes things easier for you guys, actually. You don't have to worry about what tense something is in. You just simply take the verb stem of the action verb. That's it. You don't do anything else with it. If you want to say, I am busy because I was working, you can use a different form entirely. You could, or alternatively, you would just say, I was busy because I worked. 일하느라고, not 일했느라고. So you don't need these. You only take the regular verb stem as it is. So that makes things simpler. Other things that you should know. Most of the time, like over 90% of the time, if you don't finish your sentence with 고요, but let's say you're using this to say because of something, I am busy because of something. Most of the time, 90% of the time, whatever comes after this part will be in past tense. So although 일하느라고 바빠요 is grammatically okay, most of the time when people feel the need to use this form, most of the time when this form gets used, it will end with something that's in past tense, not with something that's in present tense, like 바빠요 is present tense. More often, sentences will end up being used because of something that happened in the past. So like you might say, blah, 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 하느라고 바빴어요. Like at that time, I was busy because I was working. So that's just something to take note of. If you're not... Typically, when this form is used, it's because people are kind of reflecting on something that happened in the past. So this is not so much like, this isn't like a past tense form. I just want to let you know most of the time when this form gets used, it's because people tend to be reflecting or remembering something that happened in the past. It could be recent past, but something that happened already. So that's what this form typically gets used for. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you're kind of thinking, should I say I am or should I say I was? Well, most of the time, I would recommend using past tense because 90% of the time or even more, it'll sound more natural if you're talking about something in the past with this form than if you're talking about something currently going on right now with this form. That's just the way it tends to get used. That doesn't have anything to do with what this form actually means. It doesn't have anything to do with past. So I just want to make that clear. Before I go any further, I want to make sure I haven't lost you guys. So let me check the chat for a second. Okay. Billy, Violetta says, Billy, I have an example my tandem friend used with me. It's hot in my room in summer. 다락층에서 사느라? Because I live in the attic. Okay, I guess they live in the attic. 다락방 is attic. Okay, I just watched all your videos on sound change rules. I can't find anything about it. Yeah, it is. Jason Pan, it is in there. It's in the sound change rules section of the Learn Hangul videos. You can also watch the individual videos, but yeah, it's in there. Definitely that rule is in there. Someone said exo, I don't understand. Yeah, we haven't explained it fully yet. Don't worry. I'm giving you the rules for how to use it before we do a full explanation. And I have plenty of examples for you today. The next thing is, let me give you an example about that. 어제 일 하느라고. Oops, sorry, I wrote that kind of weird. I gave up halfway through writing that. 바빴어요. So I was busy because I was working, but here notice it's just present tense. 일하느라고 어제. Yesterday working because of this, I was busy. So 어제 일하느라고 바빴어요. I was busy because yesterday I work. Yesterday I work, so I was busy. So this would be a more natural way to say the exact same sentence after the fact. So just kind of think about that most of the time this form is used, it's used for talking about something after the fact. The other thing is, so it can mean because. You can also think of this as meaning due to. Either way you want to translate it, doesn't really matter. Because or due to working yesterday, I was busy. Due to working now, I am busy. You know, anything like that, you can use it. Because or due to. However, what makes this form special, there's a few things. The first thing is that it is only used with some sort of negative reason. So anything that comes before nurago is something negative. So the reason, because I was working. Because I was working has to be something negative. You can never use this for something that's positive. For example, you can never use this form to say, I won the lottery, because I bought a lot of tickets. 복권 would be lottery or lottery ticket. 복권 많이 사느라고, you could not say this. From 사다, to buy. So because I buy lots of lottery tickets, I won the lottery. You could not say that with this form. It has to be something negative. You could say, I lost my lottery ticket, so I didn't win the lottery. Or you could say, because I lost my lottery ticket, I died. Something. There has to be something negative here. You cannot use it with anything positive. So in the song that I probably shouldn't name for copyright reasons, with lyrics that I shouldn't write down for copyright reasons, I'll just write one word from it. It's a band that kind of is like once or thrice, but it's not. 만나느라. If you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, just ignore this. It has to be something is sort of a negative thing. So you don't want to meet. So let's just put 철수. 철수 만나느라. Okay. So if you meet 철수, because I met 철수, blah, 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 something else happened. This has to be something negative. So you don't want to meet 철수, or maybe you don't have time to meet 철수, or you're too shy to meet 철수, or whatever reason you want to give. This has to be something not positive. So you're kind of almost complaining about that reason. So if you're using this, it has to be something that's not good. So something bad happened, something you don't like happened. Always. That's the first caveat. Is that a right word? The first thing that you have to know about this is that it has to be used with a negative reason. So already you have some separation from both sol and nika, because those don't have any sort of rule like this. This is only used for when you're talking about something that's negative, something that's not good, which is also often why it ends up being talked about in the past. Because sometimes you don't really know something's negative that's happening until after it's happened, right? Like you're walking down the street and you run into an old friend, and they're trying to sell you, like they've got some pyramid marketing scheme that they're trying to get you signed up for. And at that time, while you're talking to your friend, you're like, oh, it's nice to see you again. But then afterward, you realize, you're like, man, that guy's a jerk. He's just trying to make me, sign up in his marketing pyramid marketing scam or whatever. So usually after the fact is when you realize something negative happened. And that's why this form is often used more in the past tense, I should say. So typically ends up getting used in the past tense, and it's some sort of negative reason. But this is more of a rule. This is not like, typically, this is always some sort of negative reason when you're using nurago. Okay, let me check the chat for a second. I promise I'm going to have you guys make some sentences too. I just want to give you this full explanation first so that you can do a good job. I think I had something bad happen. I got a mosquito bite on my knuckle. Oh, that's terrible. Because I got a mosquito bite on my knuckle, I couldn't go to the party. I couldn't take my photos. Okay, you could do something like that, yeah. So remember, you're always talking about because. Noah Deep says Ponzi scheme. No, I was thinking more like those multi-level marketing places that sell like cosmetics or diet drinks or stuff like that. I know how to read it. Is it okay for me to watch it, or is this something A2? You can watch it, but you might not get much out of it. If mosquito bites are bad, ehima, I guess that's a good example. Yeah, if you don't like mosquito bites. I don't know anyone who likes mosquito bites. When I was in Korea, mosquitoes, you'll learn about mosquitoes when you're in Korea. They have lots of mosquitoes depending where you are. And every summer, it would be like really hot. So you open the window, and even with your mosquito, what do you call it? The window, the screen, even with the screen, it's supposed to be a good screen. Mosquitoes still find a way to get into your room, and you're sleeping at night and suddenly, one bites you, or you hear like go by your ear. And I got bit once in my eyebrow, like right below my eyebrow. And my entire eye was just like really bloated, like really big. Like it looked like I had gotten beat up. And it was like that for, I think, 2 full days. Because I didn't think to take any antihistamine at that time. But yeah, so that was terrible. I think an eye is worse than knuckle. But knuckle's pretty bad because every time you move your hand, you'll feel the bite. I don't know. Maybe on the bottom of your foot. That would be pretty bad too, because then you don't even want to walk. I hate mosquitoes. They don't make a sound? What are you talking about? Mosquitoes you can totally hear mosquitoes go by your ear when mosquitoes are flying around. If they're in the room, you're not going to hear them. You don't hear like a mosquito flying around. They're totally silent. But when they go up to you because they like the carbon monoxide in your breath, you totally hear them, and they totally sound like that right by your ear, and they wake you up because you hear it like right by your ear, and it totally wakes you up, and you're like, oh, you turn on the light and you can't see them because they already flew into the wall or something like that. Oh, I hate those guys. Yeah, unless you've got some silent ninja mosquitoes. Once they get up to your face, you can hear them. But when they're far away, when they're in the room, you're not going to hear them. They're totally silent. Okay, so back to the lesson. Back to the lesson on mosquitoes. Got really sidetracked there. Okay. The other thing is, you don't have to be emotional about this. You don't have to be emotional about the negative result. It doesn't have to be something that you're complaining about. So I mentioned you could use it if you're complaining about something, but it doesn't have to be emotional. It could just be, well, I had to do that. I had a meeting because I was busy, because I dropped my lottery ticket, because I bought a computer, I didn't have any money, something like that. It doesn't have to be emotion. Because I spent all my money buying a wonderful new computer, I don't have any money now. It's still, it doesn't have to be some sort of negative thing that you're complaining about. It's just an explanation. But what you're talking about is some sort of negative thing. So because I bought a computer, I have no money. So that's a negative reason because I bought a computer. But you don't have to be angry about it. I guess that's what I want to say. You don't have to be angry or really upset about the reason. So you don't have to be using this when you're mad. You can use this when you're just simply explaining something. I was listening to music, so I couldn't hear what you said. So the reason I couldn't hear what you said is because, I was listening to music. But it doesn't have to be I was listening to music. I hate that. But it is some sort of negative reason. I was listening to music. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear you. That's the idea. So however you want to translate this in your head. And then the other final thing I want to make is that, again, I already wrote it up here, but only used with action verbs. I'm just writing it again because I've seen people misuse this with nouns. They'll take a noun. They're like, oh, well, because of charsu. So they'll say charsu nurago or something like that. I've seen people use this with nouns. It makes no grammatical sense to use this with a noun. So you could not say charsu nurago or anything like that, any sort of noun. If you want to say because of charsu like that, it's his fault, it's negative, then you want to use temune. And I believe I covered this when I talked about temune in my original live stream. I said that if you use temune with a person, it's negative. I also cover this in my Common Mistakes Korean Learners Make book, which came out a month ago. If you use temune after a person, it's blaming them for something. It no longer just means because of charsu temune. Now it means it's his Charsu's fault. It's because of him. It's all because of him. 철수 때문에 돈이 없어요. Because of 철수, I have no money. You know, it's blaming him. So if you want to blame someone, if you want to give some negative reason and it's a person or some sort of noun, just use 때문에, or if that's the end of a sentence, 때문이다. And I explain how to do that in my live stream where I talk about 때문에. Okay, so now we've explained all the basics, so let's go into some examples. Let's do the meat of the lesson, which is what I actually want to do, is give you guys some good examples. So, actually, I want to have you guys do this first example. So, I used all my money. Let's do this. Let's see if you guys can do this. I used all my money because I bought a computer. Go ahead and try this on your own. I'm going to write it up here too. So used, you'll want to use the verb 쓰다. If you're using all, you'll use 다 쓰다. So all would be 다. Money is 돈. Because we'll be using nurago. Bought will just be past tense of 사다. But you remember, make sure you use the right tense though with this nurago. And then computer is just 컴퓨터. Sorry, I wrote that backward. Okay, computer. I used all my money because I bought a computer. So let's see if you guys can do this. Violetta S said, but buying a PC isn't bad. That's correct. But it's some sort of not positive sentence you're talking about, because you're saying, well, you used all your money because you bought a computer. There's something negative there. You used all your money. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Like, for example, in the other example, I said, 지금 일하느라고, because I'm working. Working is not a bad thing either, but it's overall a negative result that you get. So the negative thing being, because I bought a computer results in I used all my money. So that's what I mean by negative. It doesn't have to be like because I died. It doesn't have to be like because my computer exploded, although it could be because my computer exploded. But it's overall a negative result that you get. Something negative is in the sentence. Let's see. Oh, so the first person who wrote it, Ameriliz, or at least let's see how she did. 컴퓨터를 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Perfect. Perfect, Ameriliz. That's exactly what I had on my paper too. 모기가 손을 먹느라고 못 써요. I'm not sure what you're trying to say, William. Maybe rephrase it. I see all the words you wrote made sense. 컴퓨터 사느라고 돈 다 써버렸어요. Okay, Dr. Nuccia, nice. You added the 버리다 in there. 돈이, Rachel Temkin, 쓰다 is a transitive verb and it takes an object, not a subject marker. So you could not say 돈이 because money is not using, you are using money. So 돈을 쓰느라고, but then that would be because I used money, I bought a computer. So you have it backwards. So you want to switch that around. 네, 컴퓨터 사느라고 돈을 다 내게 됐어. I ended up paying all the money. Paying all the money, I mean, grammatically, yeah, but I'm not really, it would be better just to say using all your money instead of paying all the money. 사느라고 돈이 다 했어요. The money did everything is what you wrote. Because you put 돈이, so money is subject, so money is doing something, or money is being described. And then 하다 is to do. So I did so the money did everything is what you wrote. So you want to reuse the verb. You want to use 쓰다 for to use. 컴퓨터를 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Nice, Augustus. 컴퓨터를 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Paulina, you just have a spelling mistake for computer. You just wrote computo. It should be computa, but I think you know that. It's just a typo. And the rest is fine. Gabrielle, also you should, 쓰다 is not a intransitive verb. It needs a object. So 돈을. If you say 돈이, that means the money is doing something. The money is spending something. 친구 진주 if you can't do something isn't negative, it could be, yeah, like you couldn't, I couldn't help you. I couldn't go to the party. I couldn't see it. I couldn't do that. Yeah, those could be all negative things. If it's especially if it's something that you wanted to do, but you couldn't. So yeah. Unfortunately, because I bought this awesome computer, I have no money. Yes. 새 컴퓨터 사느라고 나의 돈 다, fluffy sugar, 다 is an adverb and therefore goes before verb. But the rest you're good. 컴퓨터를 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Evil fairy, you just have a typo for 썼어요. It should be the double 시옷, not the single one. 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Abby, 썼어요, not 샀어요. 사다 is to purchase, and 사다 would be something different. I'm not going to teach you that. But one of the uses of it would be inexpensive. But if you want to say use, that's 쓰다, which becomes 썼어요, not 샀어요. 컴퓨터 사느라고 돈을 다 썼어요. Nice, nice. Perfect. 타야. Just like all the other ones that have been written. So we're going to do for this sentence, we've got 컴퓨터를 사다 to purchase, so 사느라고, because I purchased a computer, or bought a computer. Notice how even though it's bought, we're just using 사다, 사느라고. The past tense will come from the rest of the sentence. 돈을, money, 다, completely, all of it, 썼어요. Okay. One more thing I want to talk about before we go on to the other sentences. I mentioned that you can only use this when action verbs. There's one more thing you can only use this with. So this form is quite restrictive in that you can't just use it to mean because, which is why I was saying don't just write down this means because there's a lot of cases where it could not be used. It's only action verbs, and it's only when you're actually doing something. And I'll tell you what I mean. nurago can only be used not only when it's just an action verb, but when it's actually something that you're doing. There are many action verbs that are not something you're doing. Take, for example, raining, okay? 비가 오다. 비가 오다. Literally, rain comes. 오다, to come, is an action verb because coming somewhere, going somewhere, coming somewhere, those are action verbs. They're doing something. But this has to be you doing something. A person, me, you, someone. Well, it could be an animal, I guess. But anyway, it has to be someone actually actively doing something, not just some random object that's rain. So a good way to think of this, so you might think, okay, well, how do I know if it's who's doing it if there's no context? Or how can I use it for this situation? Okay, an easy way to think about this is if it takes effort. If it takes some sort of effort by anyone to do that verb, you're good. 오다, the rain comes. There was no effort taken. The rain doesn't take any effort to come. The rain just arrives. So if it takes some sort of effort, you can use it. So you could not say something like, 비가 오느라고, blah, blah, blah. I missed my meeting. I couldn't go to the party. I got wet. I lost my shoe. You cannot say something like this. You cannot do 비가 오느라고 because 오다 is just a regular verb of something doing something, but it doesn't take any effort to do it. So that's the other thing that you should keep an eye on. Now, this isn't, even though this seems like a big deal to know, I don't usually see people messing this one up because well, I guess except with rain. I've heard people do that before. But anyway, yeah, make sure it's only something that takes effort. So only use it for something that would be like working or going somewhere or, something that you're actually doing, not just something that simply happens on its own. So something that you or another person actually had to take effort to do. So let's do the next sentence. I didn't hear what you said because I was listening to music. So this one I'll give you guys. So 음악 is music. 음악을 듣다, to listen to music. And then let's do this. 못 듣다. So we've got these two phrases. Well, first one is 음악을 듣다, to listen to music. So we're going to say, I couldn't hear you because I was listening to music. So our first part is going to be because I was listening to music. So just 듣다, 듣느라고. The second part of our sentence was I couldn't hear you. Well, in Korean they say I can't hear you by saying 못, cannot, can't listen. That's one way you can say could not hear. So I could not listen to you. 네 말. It'll just you, literally just your or you words. So this would only be something you'd use to a friend because we're using 네 here, which is a casual form of you, but it's okay for this sentence. So 음악을 듣느라고 네 말을, and then we can conjugate the end. 못 들었어. 음악을 듣느라고, because I was listening to music. Okay, something negative now. What's negative? Because I was listening to music, because I was listening to music, 네 말을, your words, 못 들었어. I couldn't hear what you said. I couldn't hear what you are saying. Something like that. I couldn't hear what you were saying. 네 말을 못 들었어. I couldn't hear you. This is negative. Because, well, why? Because I'm listening to music. 듣느라고. So here's another example. Okay. The next one I want to give you, actually, the next one I'll do, and then the next two after that, I'm going to give you guys. So this next one I'll also do. Let's make sure the stream's still going fine. Chat's good. Ethnically, I'm British Irish, almost 100%. Oh, nice. So I did a DNA test. I found out I am also like 20 something percent British Irish as well. 10%, I have to look at it again. I think it was 10% Native American. That's through my grandma who's Mexican. And then 10% Portuguese or something like that. I think it was like Portugal. And then 20 or 30% Ashkenazi Jewish from my mother's side, which was from Russia, actually. I'll have to look at it again to get the exacts. Like 2% African, like a lot of Neanderthal, I think it gave me. Okay, the negative stuff must be before or after nurago. It's the sentence, lu venisa. The actual negative thing is what comes before the form. So like, because I bought a computer, it's supposed to be negative. But you're not going to hear the actual negative until you've heard the end of the sentence. So usually it's going to be the result. So after the form is where you'll see what's actually negative. But in the mindset of the speaker, the negative thing is actually what comes before nurago, because you're giving a reason. Because I'm working, well, that's negative. Because I bought a computer, well, that's negative. Not that I don't have any money now, but because I bought a computer. So the overall sentence is negative, if you want to think of it like that. You don't have to think of like, oh, negative has to go before, but like, don't think of it like that, or the negative comes after. Just the whole sentence overall is something negative. That's an easier way to think of it. Okay, this next one I'm also going to give you, but then the next one I'm going to have you guys do this. So this one is 뭐 하느라고. Now, 뭐 하느라고 comes from 뭐 하다, which is a single verb with no spaces. This means to do what? So when you ask your friends, 뭐 해? 지금 뭐 해? That's this verb you're using. 뭐 하다. It's one verb. No spaces. 지금 뭐 해? What are you doing? 뭐 하고 있어? What are you doing? Like that. That's where this is from. So we have 뭐 하느라고. So why? So because you are doing what? So now we have why. Why? What were you doing? 늦게, late. 늦게 왔어? So 늦게 is late. So we have came late. So you came late because what were you doing? Literally. So what were you doing? Because of what were you doing that caused you to come late? Or in English, we just say, hey, why are you late? Why are you late? You might just think you could say, 왜 늦게 왔어? And you could just make the sentence, 왜 늦게 왔어? Why? Literally, come late. Why'd you come late? 왜 늦게 왔어? Hey, 왜 늦게 왔어? Yeah, 왜 늦게 왔어? Why are you late? But if you want to ask what they were doing, not just simply why, if you ask, 왜 늦게 왔어? Maybe they're going to reply, oh, well, there was a car accident, or I left late. It could be anything, just simply the reason why. But asking someone, 뭐 하느라고, means what were you doing that caused you to be late? So not just why are you late? Maybe there was an accident while you're driving, or maybe there was, traffic or something. But what were you doing? Then the answer would have to be something like, well, I was busy, I was still watching movies, or I wasn't looking at the time, or whatever your excuse would be. But this is now focused on what they were doing. So 뭐 하느라고, because you were doing what, you came late. Because you were doing what, you came late. So why are you late? And again, here, 늦게 왔어 is some sort of negative thing. So, it's negative overall. You're late. What were you doing? Kind of like that. Okay, this next one I want you guys to do. I couldn't go to the party because I was helping a friend yesterday. Try to write this. I couldn't go to the party because I was helping a friend yesterday. Okay, some things I'll give you. Party would be 파티. Helping is 도와주다. Yesterday is 어제. And then couldn't go, you can just use like 못 가다. Literally cannot go. So try to make this sentence. I couldn't go to the party because I was helping a friend yesterday. I'll read the chat while you guys are doing this. Yeah, what caused you to be late? Kind of like that. Yeah. Mikrokosmos. It sounds a little mad, like the blame is on them. Well, the sentence itself is not mad. So I kind of mentioned that this form does not add any sort of emotion. It doesn't mean you're mad when you're saying it. You could simply just ask, 아니 뭐 하느라고 늦게 왔어? It doesn't mean you're mad. But if you were mad, you could also use it. So 뭐 하느라고 늦게 왔어? What were you doing? But it could also just be like, hey, what were you doing? Like, why are you late? Then maybe their reply is just, oh, I was actually working on another project for the boss. He told me to do this. You're like, oh, okay. So you don't have to be mad. It just could be also used if you were mad. 어제 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 왔어요. I couldn't come to the party yesterday. Well, you don't want to say 못 갔어요. Unless you're currently standing with the other person at the party location. 오다 is only used for come as in coming to the location of the speaker, not somewhere else. Like, hey, when are you coming? Oh, I'm coming in 5 minutes. You can't say that because you're going. You're saying, I'm going in 5 minutes. I'll be there. I'll arrive in 5 minutes. So you can't use coming in that way. So you'd have to use 못 갔어요. 어제 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 I almost said party. 파티에 못 갔어요. 뭐 하느라고 내 톡을 이렇게 늦게 봤어? Yeah, you could say that, Suna. 아니 뭐 하느라고 내 톡을 이렇게 늦게 봤어? Why'd you look at my 카톡, my talk so late? What were you doing? I mean, if you want to keep your girlfriend, probably don't say that. 어제 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 갔어요. 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 갔어요. All right, I won't have time to read all of yours. I'm just kind of skimming them. 네 친구를 어제 도와주느라고 파티에 못 왔어요. 어제 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 갔어요. 에이 희망, 난 몰라. Nice. Could be left out. Yeah, we'll talk about that shebang. Don't worry. We're not done with today's lesson. Okay, so yeah, for this one you could say 어제, yesterday, 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 갔어요. So I couldn't go to the party. I couldn't go to the party because helping friend yesterday. Yesterday I was helping a friend, so I couldn't go to the party. So the negative thing here is not, you're not complaining that you're helping a friend, you're simply complaining or talking negatively in some way that you couldn't go to the party. So kind of like, here in this sentence, you'd be kind of like expressing regret. 어제 친구를 도와주느라고 파티에 못 갔어요. I couldn't go to the party because I was helping my friend yesterday. So you're not complaining about helping your friend, you're just complaining about the overall situation, It's too bad, it's negative. I couldn't go to the party. I wanted to go to the party, I couldn't because I was helping my friend. Okay, next one you guys can also do. I could not meet my friend today because I am studying for a test. Actually, let's change it. I couldn't meet Charsu today because I'm studying for a test. Okay, I'll give you some words here. So first of all, studying for a test. This for a doesn't need to translate into Korean. Typically for studying, they simply add 공부, study, onto whatever it is that you're studying for. You don't need to say studying for a test. You simply would say test, 시험, 공부. So that's how they typically say studying of something. They just say test studying, 시험, 공부. You don't need to say 시험을 위한 공부 or anything like that. That's not necessary. That would be if you needed to be really specific about something. So we've got this. And then I could not meet. Meeting is going to be 만나다. Though if you don't know this verb, the lesson is probably above your level. But meet is 만나다. So I couldn't meet Charsu today because I'm studying for a test. Let's give that a try. 빌리 씨 뒤에 상어가 있네요. There's a shark behind me? I don't think so. I hope not. 시험 공부하느라고 철수 씨를 못 만났어요. Ella's Woods RN. Looks like you are the first person. Nice. Oh, no. Oh, wait, yeah, you are. Yeah, you're the first person to do it. You even beat Amaryllis. That's like unprecedented. Amaryllis, 시험 공부하느라고 오늘 철수를 못 만났어요. Except Amaryllis added the 오늘 part. Today. I'm going to have to give the win to Amaryllis for this one. 시험 공부하느라고 오늘 친구를 못 만났다. Okay. 오늘 시험 공부하느라고 철수를 못 만났어요. Okay? 시험 공부하느라고 철수를 못 만났어요. Okay, nice. 시험 공부하느라고 철수 씨를 못 만났어요. All right. I'm not going to read all of these. I'm just kind of skimming through them. 그리고 철수를 못 만났어요. Okay? 공부하느라고. Not true. I get beat all the time. Confirmation bias. Yeah, maybe. I'm just expecting your answer first. All right. So we don't have too many viewers today. I guess that's because this is more of an intermediate topic. All right. So then, yes, as most of you got, 시험 공부하느라고 철수 or 오늘 철수. Let's just I'll add an 오늘 because I have today in the translation. 오늘 철수를 못 만났어요. 시험 공부하느라고 오늘 철수를 못 만났어요. So I couldn't meet 철수 today because studying test. So test, because I'm doing literally to do test studying. 시험 공부, test studying. Because I'm doing that, I could not meet Charsu today. Let's see, how are we on time? 40. Oh, we're actually perfect on time. I didn't even look at the time once so far since starting. So I wasn't sure how we were doing on time, but we're actually doing perfect. Okay, the next one, let me see, can I give this one to you as well? Okay. I've got one more for you guys. Let's see. I couldn't see your text message because I was playing outside. Notice how a lot of these use could not I know someone kind of mentioned that. Someone asked about that. But a lot of these use like could not do something. Oh. Because, oh yeah, because. I was like, that's a short sentence. Okay. I couldn't see your text message because I was playing outside. I couldn't see your text message. So now text message is actually very easy. It's one word in Korean. It's spelled 문자, but when it's pronounced, it's actually pronounced as 문자, 문자, 문자. 문자 just means text message, so or text. I couldn't see your text because I was playing outside. Play is 놀다. Outside, you're going to use 박. So if you're playing outside, 밖에서, I'll just give that to you right away to help save some time. I couldn't see your text. And then see, you can use 보다. So how would you say this? Tiffany, stay my day. No donations today? Yeah, I noticed there's no donations. Although, I mean, it's also kind of nice I have the whole board though today, but I just noticed that too like 5 minutes ago. I'm like, the board's eerily open today. I have so much space to write because there's been no donations. Okay, oh, let's see. Shaban is the first person to attempt this. Someone noticed Microcosmos said Korean's becoming so difficult as an intermediate learner. Nah, that's what's called the intermediate plateau. You'll get out of it. It's fine. Korean's always difficult. Even at my level, at the beginning level, it's always difficult. It just depends what are you comparing yourself to. And you'll always compare yourself higher and higher the better you get. 밖에 노느라고 메시지를 못 봤다. I couldn't see the message because I was playing 밖에서. I wrote that here. 에서. Because you're doing an action verb. I could do a live stream later about 에 and 에서 if you want. 밖에서 노느라고 메시지를 못 봤어요. I was trying to trip you guys up by giving you 놀다 with 느라고 because I didn't teach you how it works with that. 밖에서 노느라고 문자를 못 봤어요. 밖에서 노느라고 문자를 못 봤어요. I didn't trick any of you guys. I was hoping you guys would mess up and write 놀느라고. Actually, I wasn't hoping you'd mess up. I was just like thinking, there'll probably be some people who mess up. You guys are good. Oh, I got one. Stephanie Stanfield. Yeah. 놀려느라고. Okay, well, that's something different. That's not the right verb. Okay. Zami, the play for an instrument is different. Yes. Every instrument has a different word for to play. That's correct. This one is, 놀다 is specifically like hang out. Hang out, play, like play with a friend. You know, kids would play, but also adults, when you hang out, they use 놀다. They don't, you don't really say, let's play as an adult. You say, hey, let's hang out. That's what they say, 놀다, to use that. And whenever you get a verb stem that ends in this letter with 느라고, you remove it. That's it. So if you get 놀다, it becomes no, just no, 노느라고. 살다 to live, 사느라고. 팔다 to sell, 파느라고. You know, just like that. So that's a feature of actually sound change rules, and it's not just this grammar form. So if you're at the level where you already have kind of learned this form a little bit before, then you are not surprised at all by this. So I noticed actually most of you already, I didn't even tell you, you already assumed because it starts with this letter, it's going to remove this letter from verb stems, and you're correct. And other ones do that too, like nika form. I think when I taught the nika form, I also taught about that. Nika also, if you were to say 살다 to live, with nika, it just becomes 사니까, not 살니까. And then the ending 나요, like 있나요, or 네요 as well. If you were to say, wow, you live in Korea, they wouldn't say 살네요, they always say 사네요. So it's just a feature of these two letters not liking each other. So whenever you have a grammar form that starts with this letter, preceded by a verb stem that ends, or anything that ends in this letter, it goes away. So verb stems especially. That looks cool. Okay. So yeah, good job. Let me write down the answer. I couldn't see your text message because I was playing outside. So first we have because I was playing outside, so outside playing. 밖에서 노느라고, because I am playing outside. 문자. Someone wrote messagey. That just means I couldn't see your message. It doesn't mean text message, just any sort of message. If you want to say text message, it's 문자. 문자를 못 봤어요. Apologize, my writing has never been the prettiest, but at least I'm fast. So 밖에서 노느라고 문자를 못 봤어요. So I could not see the text message because playing outside. Okay, but we're not done. You could not, again, so this has to be an action verb stem that requires effort on your part. You couldn't say something like this. You couldn't say something like this. 밖에, outside. 있느라고 밖에 있다. Normally you could say 밖에 있어요. Like he is outside. 밖에 있어요. 밖에 있어요. 지금. 철수가 밖에 있어. Charsu's outside. But you cannot say because I am outside 밖에 있느라고 문자를 못 봤어요. I couldn't see your text because I was outside. You have to use it with something that takes effort, not something just existing, not just being outside, but doing something outside. So you can say 밖에서 일하느라고, or I'm working outside, or 노느라고, playing outside, or anything outside, meeting 철수 outside. But you cannot just say existing because I am existing or doing something. It has to be something that actually takes effort on your part. So write that down as well. And finally, before we finish our basic lesson on nu라고, I wanted to share one more form. 누라. I think last lesson or 2 lessons ago, we learned about 더라고, 더라고요. And we also learned there's an alternate form called just 더라. This is the exact same thing. So if you remember that, same thing. If you don't, I'll explain it. 누라 is the exact same thing, and it works in just the same way as that abbreviation does as well. 누라 has the exact same meaning as 누라고, or 누라고, 누라고요, like that. 누라 cannot add 요. 누라 is done. So if you use 누라, like 노느라 for 놀다, or like 일하느라, or anything like that, because of, the meaning is the exact same, however, a tiny bit more casual, because you cannot add a yo to the end. You cannot say 하느라 요, completely wrong. So it's only casual and a little bit more emphatic. By that I mean it's a little more emphasized. So it's a little stronger, like because of that, instead of just saying because. So it's commonly used between friends. Like you say, 일하느라 못 봤어. 밖에서 노느라 문자를 못 봤어. I couldn't see the text message because I'm playing outside. It's a little more emphasis, but really just, you can remember it as just a little more casual. So if you're talking with your friends, feel free to use 누라고 or just 누라. Both of them will be perfectly fine. That's all there is to 누라. And that's all there is to the lesson, with a few exceptions. Now I'd like to compare it with Saul, but I want to know, before I even talk about Saul, at the beginning of today's lesson, so an hour ago, I told you guys that you actually don't really need to compare this form with Saul, because if you actually understand how nurago works, you'll, and if you already know this form, of course, you'll already know when you can and when you cannot use Saul. You'll already know how it's very different than Saul. Before I explain this, I want you guys to write in the chat some of the differences, so not just the small differences, but like whatever you think are some major differences between nurago and Saul. Because I have a feeling you guys might already know most of these before I even have to tell you. So go ahead and write a few down in chat. I'll see if there's any that you get that I was going to talk about, or if you got any that I didn't get. First thing though I wanted to say is that they are not interchangeable. Saul is not interchangeable with nurago. Ever. There are times when you could use one or the other grammatically, but it's not the same particle. It doesn't have the same meaning. William Kelly, so you can't use it with weather or animal actions because they don't take effort. Well, and if an animal is a character, then it's okay. Like, it depends what you're personifying. That's, if something is a character and you're writing a fiction book, then an animal could take effort to do something. That's okay. But yeah, most of the time, no. I mean, if it's something that doesn't take effort, like the weather, it doesn't take any effort. Even if it's snowing, oh, it was snowing, so I was late. Well, snow, you would just say because it snowed. Like the snow wasn't putting forth effort into coming down from the sky. So that's why you wouldn't use it for anything like that. So can be used more freely. Yes, it can. So is for both positive and negative. Yes, that's correct. Neutral, not negative. That's right. So can be used with descriptive verbs. Nice catch. That's a really important catch also. So can be used with past. Nope. Soluna. So can also not be used with the past. So has to be used with the present tense. The conjugation's different, but it's only present tense. 단추를 여느라고 턱을 지켜. The intention of doing. Well, because nurago is something that takes effort, it could be attached to something that you were intending to do. Though nurago by itself doesn't mean with the intention of doing. That's 려고. 려고 is intentional. Like 단추를 열려고. And then, that's right, it could be cause, it could be, okay, yeah, I see, okay. Yes, great. So I'll write some of these down. You guys have actually you've actually figured out most of the differences that I'm going to focus on. So I wanted to give a sentence, kind of contrast these. Our first sentence we did. 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. I'm going to write it down here. 바빠요. That's A. And B will be 지금 일하고 있어서. So we've got two sentences that both mean, these both in English mean I am busy, 바빠요, because I am working now. 지금 일하느라고 바빠요. 지금 일하고 있어서, oops, I wrote 있어요. 지금 일하고 있어서 바빠요. Both literally translate, both translate the same in English. I am busy because I am working now. The difference is, nurago obviously is showing something's negative. So you're saying being busy is not good. Or because I'm working, it's not good. 지금 일하느라고, I'm working right now. Something's negative. What's negative? I'm busy. I'm busy because I'm working right now. So I don't want to work right now. I'm busy. Or maybe, I don't want to be busy right now. I want to do something else. But whatever. Or I can't talk with you because I'm busy. Something's negative. Whereas 일하고 있어서 바빠요 is simply just, I am busy because I'm working right now. It could be like, I want to be busy. Maybe you're like, oh, I was always like unemployed and lazy every day, but now 지금 일하고 있어서 바빠요. 너무 좋아요. Oh, I'm so happy I'm busy that I'm working. It could be positive. I mean, probably not, but it doesn't have to be negative or positive. It's just simply is. The other thing is, so if you're using nurago, you're kind of like saying, well, I don't want to be busy, or, I don't want to be working right now, but I am because I am working. So so, however, is different. So as I mentioned, doesn't have that emotion. So is simply emphasizing the result, the cause and the result of something. And if you don't remember this, rewatch my live stream abridged video about Saul. I think it's like the 3rd episode or something. Saul shows simply a cause and a result of something that is directly related. So something that's really closely related. So you wouldn't necessarily say like, let me put it this way. If you use Saul, you are saying that as a direct result of this. So it's really closely with a strong connection, connecting two parts of the sentence together. Whereas nurago does not do anything like that. Nurago can just be any sort of loose because connection as long as it's negative. Saul must be something that's more directly related. Like you wouldn't say, because I dropped the book, I died. Why am I have like the worst sentences ever, don't I? Because it's because I'm trying to like match example sentences to like, trying to like match situations to things that like people don't actually use very often. Because I dropped my pen, now I'm busy, right? You know, you're busy cleaning up the pen marks or something like that. Okay. 서 could be used for something that's really direct. So you might commonly hear something, you might say something like, oh, because I dropped my pen, my carpet's dirty. You know, I have to spend an hour cleaning it up. So, you know, that sounds really direct. Saying something, however, like, because I dropped my pen, well, now I have to go to the store and I'm going to buy another pen. And I don't know, it's less of a connection when you're using this. It's just something happens and something happens as a result. Just something because. Whereas 서 is like directly, this is due to this. So 서 emphasizes that something was caused by something. So that's the other difference, is that there's a slight difference in emphasis. So it's kind of like just more like, I'm busy as a result of, because I'm working right now. And 서 also is just used for showing one event happens after another. We covered this, I think, also when I covered the 서 form. But I won't have time to go over that again now. But 서 can also be used just to simply show I went to the store and then I did something. 학교에 가서 선생님을 만났어요. I went to school and then immediately after going to school, I met the teacher. So 서 is used for it. The main point of using 서 is to connect two things together with a very strong connection. So I did something and then immediately after I did this. So that's how they're connected. Or because of this, this happens like that. For a more in-depth explanation, please watch the live stream where I had like a whole hour to explain it. Right now I'm trying to do it really fast. But yeah, so nurago, something negative. 서 doesn't have to be negative. Also shows more connection with the sentence. Other things are, someone mentioned in chat, 서 can also be used with descriptive verbs. However, you cannot do that with nurago. So you cannot say, because it is cold, I wore a coat. You couldn't say that with nurago, but you could say that with here, because it's fine to use this with descriptive verbs, as well as nika. You could also use nika with descriptive verbs too, but you cannot use it with nurago. And actually that's it. I've already explained the other thing. So that's the main differences between 서 and nurago. Now we've got another one. What about nika? What do you guys think about nika? 하니까. So what do you think is the difference between nika and nurago? Now nika, of course, is not for using just a cause and effect. nika simply means because. So because I'm working now. Well, these two sentences, well, for one thing, 일하니까 just means I am busy because I am working. It simply offers an explanation. So the focus of nika is just on an explanation. Specifically like a why, like explaining why or how, you know, any of those question words. This is what nika does. It's simply for offering an explanation of something. Zero added emotion or anything like that. Just because I'm working, that's the reason why I'm busy. So the reason I am busy is because I'm working. That's it. That's what nika does. It's very straightforward. There are some other reasons. There are some other differences. I wonder what you guys think. So I'm going to take to the chat just for a minute and see if there's any other things that you can tell that's different between nika and nurago. Mariliz, oh, you're fast. Yeah, nika can be used with commands. Anyone else got any differences? Oh, nika usually has a feeling that the listener already knows part of this information. Yeah, it could be. You could use it for that. nika has a few uses. Also, nika can be used for showing like as a result of me trying something, like 해보니까, like after, or I should say in English we would say after trying something. Like 해보니까 괜찮더라. It's like it's not so bad after I tried it. So because I tried it, it's not so bad. So it's also used to show the result of something after it has happened. That's more of an intermediate grammar form though. Maybe I could do that another day. Calling Amarilis fast is just sort of redundant. Yeah, maybe if Amarilis just changed her name to Sonic, then I'll stop complimenting her for being fast. Because then it'll be just obvious. 지금 일해서 바빠요. 서 is interchangeable with 때문에? Nope, it is not. Angela, for a review of that, check out my live stream. I went into full detail about 서, 때문에, nika. and compared and contrasted all of them. But no, it is not. So is completely different than 때문에. Someone else commented, nika is more casual. That's correct. 나는 실패하니까. Yeah, that's correct. Because I make mistakes. Yes, nika is also casual. Typically, if it's used as a sentence connector, it's more casual than other forms. Because nika at the end is actually, I won't go into detail, I'll just tell you that nika is more casual. There's another form, ni, which is not casual, but nika is the one that's used more often. And yeah, it's not a casual form, but it's not a formal. It's an informal form, so it cannot be used in formal situations typically. The other thing, you're actually a Korean teacher. Oh, is there someone here that teaches Korean? Oh, I see. That's cool. Yeah, feel free to make any comments. Let's see. Nika is used, yes, so nika is used more of an explanation of why something. It's not necessarily a strong cause and effect. It also has other uses, like we won't go into, like I said, it can also be used in certain grammatical constructions to show like after doing something. It's more casual. It can also be used with descriptive verbs, just like so. And you can also use it to make commands. You cannot use so to make a command. Like you wouldn't be able to say, like, because it's cold, wear a coat with so. And you cannot do that with nurago either. It is only a negative result when you're using nurago. You cannot say, because I'm working right now, wear, or because it is cold, or I guess if you already think you can't use it with descriptive verbs, let me give a better example. Because I am busy, ask someone else. You cannot use that. You cannot use 지금 일하느라고 다른 사람한테 물어봐요. That doesn't make any sense. You could say 지금 일하느라고 I did something else or something else happened, but you cannot tell someone to do something or suggest it either. Using this form. So you cannot say because let me think of an example. Yeah, you can't say wear a coat because it's cold. You can't give a command. You can't say wear a coat or please wear a coat. And you can't give a suggestion like let's go to the store because the weather is nice or because I am not working right now, right? Let's keep it with an action verb. Because I am not working right now, let's go to the store. You can't use it with any sort of suggestion or command or any sort of thing like you're telling someone to do something. You cannot. If you want to do that, you have to use it with nika. If you want to make a command, you got to use it with nika. Okay, and that's all the differences between nika and so, and between those two and nurago. And if you feel like this description is kind of too short about these particles, please go back and watch the live stream where I talk about both so and nika in more detail. Today's lesson is focused, like I said, just on nurago. So I just want to make sure you get that going. We finished early. Oh my goodness. No, that's too early. Okay, because we finished so early, I'm going to go to the chat. So this is your guys' chance. Make some sentences, and I'm going to be talking about them. If you already feel comfortable with nurago, or if you're just watching from live stream like later on, you can feel free to tune out or stick around for some of the questions. And let's see if we can get some more example sentences from people. Explication, c'est du français. Ha ha ha. La croyenne avec un croyenne. You guys all know, I told you guys before, I did French for 5.5 years all through high school, and then I also did it in college. And I was thinking of doing a associate's degree in French, and then I snapped out of it. I'm like, what am I doing? I don't speak French. I don't speak French. I did French, like I said, 5.5 years, and I know like next to nothing because it's just easy to go through the classes. Like, you hear the teacher, you can understand kind of what the teacher's talking about, and you give really short answers and they don't care, and then you write your essays, and you spend a lot of time writing your essays, and you turn in decent essays. But in the end, at the end of the day, I can't introduce myself in French. I can't like have a conversation in French. I can like barely read basic French, and that's pretty much it. The ha-ha stereotype strikes again. It's not a stereotype. It's a love. It's my love for Paris style French speaking. It's a stereotype to some people. To me, it's It's like, it's something I really like. And that's why I picked French when I was in high school instead of Spanish, because I could have done Spanish, which would be more useful living in California. I don't know, just something attracts me about that type of like French speaking. It just sounds really nice to me. And I think like even the stereotypical style of speaking, which I know doesn't really exist that much outside of like, some movies and characters and stuff. I don't know, I really like it. It sounds like really unique. So that's kind of what attracted me. So even in my French classes, I would try to speak things kind of like the Parisien, I guess they call it, like the really standard Paris dialect of French. And I actually had a French teacher who talked kind of like that when he spoke French. He had a really like a French voice, like the guy from the chef from Little Mermaid. I mean, not Little Mermaid. What am I thinking? The Beauty and the Beast? Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, like the candlestick, kind of like that accent. Could you also make a lesson about gien? Hagien. Oh yeah. Well, it could be a few different meanings. Gien is just gi에는, so like to doing something. So it's too early to work. 일하기, working, 에, to, 는, as far as. So as far as working, it's too early. It's just gien is just 기에는, which is just 기에, which is just in order to. It could also be a because, but that would be a different form. It's a stereotype because nobody laughs like that. I don't know about that. I've heard someone laugh like that before. Maybe they're just joking though. I'm from Paris and I never heard that in reality. Oh, okay. I've heard it before, but it might have been someone just kind of joking about it. Like a French person. Merci pour ces cours très intéressants. Thank you for your courses. They're very interesting. Okay, 우리 딸 돌보느라 잠깐 졸았다. I fell asleep for a second watching our daughter. Yeah. 난 많이 밥 안 먹느라고 나는 너무 배고팠어요. The sentence would be quite awkward for a few reasons. One is you have 나는 used twice. You only need it once, and you might not even need it at all if it already is assumed it's about you. Also, 많이 is an adverb, so it would go before the verb. A lesson about 기엔, 길래. I could do that. 길래, 하길래. Yeah, that could be done. That would be like an appendix? Appendix? What do you call it? An extra lesson about because. 길래 is another because. It's more of a casual one. So you could talk about that. 일 끝이 어제 친구를 못 만났어요. Tiffany State, you have a few typos. I'm not quite sure what the 일이 maybe you're saying 끝나지. There's something about finishing work, but I'm not quite sure. 아이들을 먹느라고 아이들이 없어요. Throw away. Yes. There are no kids because Charsu ate the kids. Okay. Charsu, our famous child eater. If you've been to the previous live streams, Charsu is our character who always comes up and does bad things and eats children and is just a terrible person all around. Oh, he's also everyone's friend and not everyone's friend at the same time. I actually did it myself before, but always as a joke to act out the story. Okay. I would totally love if I could meet someone who spoke like that, like really thick. Because like I've met some people who speak French kind of like that, but no one like really thick. I don't know. I just think it sounds really cool. 한국에 사느라고 빌리 라이브 스토리무 다 못 봐요. For live, let me teach you a new word. So I've seen some people say like live or live stream or something like that. In Korean, the word for stream, we say stream in English. In Korean, they consider it the word for broadcast. They use 방송. Now, in English, we use stream differently from broadcast. Typically, broadcast is for something that's on TV or the news only. And streaming is like a casual thing, like an online, or if you're viewing some source on a third party's location, like a third party website, then we call that streaming. Broadcast would be from the source. But in Korean, it's used in the same way. 방송, broadcast or a stream. So you're watching somebody's 방송. If it's a live broadcast, they use 생방송. They sometimes just say 생송. Sorry, not They don't. 생방. 생방, they abbreviate it. So 생방, if it's a live broadcast. Or if it's recorded, they'll use 녹방송, which they also most often just say as 녹방. So if you see these terms, that's what they are. 생방, live broadcast, 녹방. 녹 is used for recording. This is actually 녹음, or actually 녹화. 녹화 or 녹화금. 녹화 or 녹음, which means record. 녹화 is a video, so recorded video. They just take this 녹 out of here. So 녹방송. And 생 is from, I think this, sorry, I do that totally messed up, which means live or living. So they use this as 생방송. So live, literally a live broadcast, and recorded broadcast. So 녹방. So today's broadcast is a 생방, and every Sunday we are broadcasting as a 생방. I can't even say it myself. 생방, live broadcast. But if you're watching this later on, the live stream already finished, then you are now watching a 녹방. So sometimes people will come into chats and they'll be like, 녹방이에요? 생방이에요? 녹방이에요? Whatever. Is this live or is this recorded? That's how they'll ask it. And then you can say, oh, it's 생방이요, 생방송이요. Like that. Auxiliary verbs, what kinds? 먹방. Yeah, that's actually where 먹방 comes from. It's eating, 방, 방송. So eating broadcast. That's why they call it 먹방. 곰의 이름 기억 못하느라고 너무 슬펐어요. I was so sad I cannot it'd be 기억 못하다 for cannot remember. There's a French learning Discord too. Yeah, I was also in some French learning communities for a while, but I stopped doing it because I just didn't have time to keep up with French and Korean and Japanese and the other languages that I was doing. So I decided just to stick to Korean and sometimes go and, practice Japanese. But that's it. Like, I don't do anything else. My dad is fluent in French. He could have brought me and my brother up to be fluent, but he didn't. Rip. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, it would have been great if you could speak a second language. Can I use nurago with future tense? 자느라고 내일 피곤할 거예요. You can use nurago with any tense, but just as long as the verb before it is not future tense. So like you wouldn't be able to say like 늦게 자겠느라고 or something like that, or 잘 거라고 or 잘 거느라고. You wouldn't be able to use it with the tense like that. But yeah, you could say 늦게 자느라고 내일 피곤할 거예요. 늦게 자느라고 내일 피곤할 거예요. I guess you could. Sound all right to you? Sounds okay to me. I'd want to check that with a native though. Sometimes the thing with like breaking down a grammar form into like exactly how you can't use it is very difficult, because there are lots of times when, despite something being the norm, there are still other ways you can use it. So my experience is only 14 years of Korean, but that doesn't mean I've heard like every possible usage of forms in Korean and everything like that. I would say I think it sounds okay, but I would check that with the Korean. So if there's a Korean here, 불어랑 영어랑 가끔 헷갈려서 그래요. I see, Maya. If Maya, if you're here, if you'd give your opinion on that, I'd be curious. I would say it sounds kind of okay to me. Like, I wouldn't say it. I would just say, 내일 피곤할 것 같아. 너무 늦게 자니까. Something like that. But I think grammatically it should be okay. William Kelly, did you do a lesson on 게 되다? I think I did. To become. I think I have a Learn Korean episode about that. 고 말다, 보다, 주다, 내다. I did a lesson on 보다 and 주다. For when I did the 보다, it was try. For 주다, I did a lesson about doing favors, like when I think it was for the asking favors and doing commands. I think I also talked about 주다. 말다, I haven't done one on, except in my books, as well as 내다. I think I did one about 내다 in my book as well. 생방송 보느라고 밖에서 못 나갔어요. Tiffany, stay my day. You want to use 밖에, you spelled it with that double letter, but you should just use a single letter. Like that. 철수의 음식을 못 먹느라고 나는 너무 슬펐어요. 철수가 항상 먹지만 그녀는 너무 날씬해요. Not quite sure. Fluffy. One thing is a few things wrong with it. One of them being no one says 그 and 그녀. These are only used for example sentences in grammar textbooks in Korea for when they learn English. That's it. They learn these as he and she when they're studying English, but not to Korean. This is only what Korean grammar books sometimes use when they're studying English, because they don't have words for he or she. But these are not words used in Korean outside of grammar, like I said, grammar textbooks. So do not use them. 영어 못해서 다 이해할 수 없어요. Because I'm French. In French, we can't find a video to teach Korean. I did meet a guy who, I did meet a guy who teaches Korean who's French, but he doesn't have a video. He doesn't have a video channel either. He just does, I think he does Instagram. I'm subscribed to him on Instagram. He's pretty cool. I haven't even gone to France yet, which is sad. I've never been to Europe, despite, like I said, almost 6 years doing French studying. Though to be fair, I did French studying and then I went to Korea. So like I pretty much forgot everything while learning Korean. So it's not that I didn't learn anything in my class. It's that I studied it and then I went to Korea and then I picked it up again and then I went to Korea again a couple more times. And then I just realized, I can't keep this up. I don't have any French friends. I didn't have a single French friend. And I'd never been to France and I couldn't practice French with anyone. I didn't have any pen pals. This was like, pre-internet existed, but this wasn't like, there wasn't like any French chat communities. There wasn't like Reddit. There wasn't Discord. Or if you wanted to find a pen pal, you'd have to just connect with one person. And any pen pal I found would just want to speak with me in English. So I really couldn't practice French at the time. So I just kind of gave it up. But I really liked it. Like, come to Quebec. It's different. It's different. I want to go to France. I want to try the French food. The French baguette et du fromage. And sit down outside at a cafe, and listen to the accordion music. What's that? I think that's an accordion, isn't it? The instrument. I think it's an accordion. I'll listen to French music. The fantasy that doesn't actually exist. I want that. Can you explain the grammar? Like, how can I use nika? Yeah, I actually already did a full live about that. So watch my live stream about that, where I go into detail. And you can find a link in the community tab. Hyunwoo from Talk to Me in Korean. Yeah, he speaks several languages decently. I know French is one. He can also do Japanese. Pretty good. Definitely English. His English is awesome. Korean, of course. And then he knows another language too. I want to say Spanish or there's another language too that he can do decently, though I definitely know I've heard his Japanese before, and that's okay. And as well as his French. Like, he's able to actually talk. Baguette with fromage is perfect. Yeah, I was joking, but actually I actually get baguettes and put brie cheese on it. It's awesome. As well as pears. Pears are really good with that too. Baguette sandwich with ham and butter. Oh, yeah. You just get some butter and baguette, and I get some soft, that Irish butter. Like, scrape off that and put it on a piece of baguette, and then you put a slice of brie cheese on top of that, and then maybe like some ham or something else on top. Oh, it's so good. Spanish, that's right. Okay. Yeah. If anyone's never tried it, you got to get Basque. Is it Basque? Basque pears or Bosque pears? I think Bosque pear. Those like brown looking pears. They look like this. They're kind of hard. They're like rock hard. But it's okay. When they're ripe, they'll get like slightly, like a little bit soft, but they don't ever get soft. It's like these get quite hard. So yeah, you can, but anyway, they're not very sweet. They're like lightly sweet, but very strong pear flavored. So you get one of these and then you get like a roll of some fresh baguette bread, like crunchy and everything. And then you cut off a piece of this and you put on actually, you don't even need baguette. Forget the baguette right now. We're just talking about the pear. Then you get some brie cheese, you know, Trader Joe's sells it. Everywhere sells brie cheese. You know, really soft. You can throw off the top or you can eat the top. I like to eat the top. And you cut off like a nice big piece of it. And you cut off like a big piece of the pear. And then you get like a slice of the pear right here. And then you put like a big slice of cheese on it. And eat it together. It's so good. It's like, they showed it in that movie Ratatouille. He's like talking about, you know, eating cheese and eating the berry or whatever. Nah, forget that. This is where it's at. This is the type of thing I think he was trying to show off. Like, if you want to see like fruit and cheese, these types of pears and brie cheese, it's just magical. It's like they were just meant to be together. And then you can add other things to that meal. So, you know, baguette and butter and other stuff. I'm totally going off topic. Let's go back to Korean. 벌써 끝났어요. Yeah, the live stream's already over. Billy, has your kid met Hyunwoo's kids? Yes, last year he invited us over to his place and we hung out. And my kid met his kids and they're all playing together. And his kids, at least his older one, speaks English pretty good. So I think at that time my kid was speaking with his kid in English. Now my kid would probably switch to Korean if he's in Korea, but he'll be starting, preschool pretty soon, so. Brat T. Okay, let's read this. You mentioned in your abridged video that nika means, but in this lesson it was an explanation. Oh, I'm not sure what you mean. Brat T. I don't get your question. Maybe watch the full live stream because the abridged are really just meant as quick reviews if you've already seen the whole live stream. But the abridged doesn't cover everything that was in the live stream. Billy is hungry and it shows. Yes. Oh shoot, Billy can draw. No, I cannot draw. Actually, that's the you might think like, oh, I can probably draw if I can draw that, but I can't. That's like the extent of my drawing abilities. What if Billy leaves for a while and comes back with some bread and starts munching? When you visit France, yeah, Germany. I am not interested in German beer, but I am interested in German food. Yeah, really the people want to go to France, you know, to see the architecture, you know, to see the paintings, you know, La Louvre and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, get Paris. You got to experience life in Paris. I'm like, no, just give me the food. Like, give me the food. Maybe some cool French guy or French girl like sitting around talking so I can hear some French. That's what I want. That's all I want. And I cannot be disappointed if that's all I want out of France. I want some good food. I want to hear people speaking with Paris-style French. Germany, I want the food. Italy, I just want your food. I'm getting out of there. Just want your food. And Greece too. Oh, I could get that. Greece, I can't go there. Anyway, yeah, Italy, Germany, mainly France though. Food moves people, yes. 맞다, 배, 치즈, 빵. 진짜 맛있어요. Farah B, yes, you know. Because I eat a lot, I'm fat now. Can I use this sentence with 서? Because it's not directly related. It is directly related. 너무 많이 먹어서 뚱뚱해요. I am fat because I eat too much. You can. Sauerkraut, bratwurst. Oh, I love sauerkraut. Yeah. But that's because of my Jewish ethnicity more than liking German food. But Jewish has a lot of that different culture food kind of mixed in anyway. Come to Bulgaria. Yeah, my little my brother went there before. He really liked it. My brother's wife also went there. I think they went like on a family trip because he had some friends over there also. And yeah, he says like Bulgaria is pretty cool because Bulgaria is like the birthplace of yogurt. They had a lot of really good food, like some Bulgarian style like salsa stuff, and he made like some Bulgarian rice dish. He made some Bulgarian food, like meat. I can't remember what it was, but it was pretty good. When you pronounce Le Louvre. Yeah, like I said, I can't speak French. Now you guys are just asking about countries and food. Let's get back to Korean. Tiffany Stay Make My Day said, how do I know if I reached the intermediate level yet? I did a Korean FAQ video of how to find your Korean level. So please watch that. That'll explain. I detail like how you can self-judge what level you're in, at least semi-accurately. It's not going to be perfect. Oh, well, I got a donation. Welcome, Rusty Sam Black. Yes, Rusty. Welcome to the family. I got a new member. Sweet, thank you. Somi asked, can you speak any Spanish? No, but because I studied French for almost 6 years, I can understand some Spanish. But the extent of my speaking is, if you've ever watched the parody show, ¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? It's like, what time is it? It's like jokes about the Spanish show with Spanish that everyone learned in the 3rd grade or something like that. Okay, I think I'm high beginner. Nice. I think you'd be at least high beginner. You could be low intermediate or mid intermediate though, if I were to talk with you more and figure out. But yeah, you're at least high beginner. 텔레비전을 보느라고 눈이 아파요. Okay. 텔레비전 보느라고 눈이 아파요. Though, like I said, typically, like grammatically, yes. Typically, though, it ends up being used when the sentence ends in past tense, just because that's when you fully realize the extent of something negative is after it's happened. But in this case, your eyes hurt. Yeah. I thought 그리고 meant and. It does. 그리고. Yeah, and. Like when you're continuing a sentence or continuing a thought. 그리고. When first challenging books written in Korean, do you think it's better to just go on reading or studying every single word that I don't know? That's a good question. What's your goal with reading the book? Is your goal to learn Korean more, or is it to enjoy yourself more? If your goal is for learning, if you're just reading the book to learn, like, you know, it's secondary if it's enjoyable. Every single word. And you don't have to understand everything, but at least search them, at least write them down, like keep a record of them, because you'll see those same words over and over and over, especially in the same author's work. So yeah, keep writing down words and learning them. And even if you don't fully understand it, at least you're trying to, and that's okay. You don't have to fully understand every sentence before you move on. You should just kind of, at least you know the words in it, you know, I'll learn this grammar a little later, but at least keep moving on. If your goal is simply to enjoy it, then no. I would just keep reading through. Like if you don't know a word, you know, quickly search it up. And if you don't understand the grammar, just be like, meh, keep going. You know, as long as you get the gist of the sentence, move on if your goal is enjoyment. And especially if the book is really long and you're just trying to read it, like you have a goal to read the first Harry Potter book in Korean, then if you were to look up every single word you don't know, you're not going to enjoy that at all. You would have to kind of skim through it and read it more quickly in order to enjoy it. And then, you know, you can finish reading it and feel like, yeah, I accomplished something. You know, I'm going to go to the next book. I enjoyed that experience. So whatever helps you keep motivated is better. If you need to enjoy the book a lot in order to want to do the next one, then just scan it. Just look up the word really quick. Doesn't matter if you get the whole sentence, just kind of like, I get the gist of it. You know, I think I remember what they were doing in the English version, and just move on. But yeah, if you're really just trying to study from it, then you'd have to read it multiple times, look up every single word. And that's what I do. That's the kind of learning that I do now, because, I mean, if I need to look up a word, it's obviously going to be a complicated word. So I have to look up everything if I don't know it. But if you're, that's later on. But I'd say as a beginner, it's not that important to do it that way. My speaking and listening is so far below my reading and writing. My brain can't process Korean quickly enough. That's typical. You'll always be better at listening and understanding or reading or writing than you will be at speaking. Speaking will always be the last on that list. Unless you're talking about like writing essays or like writing a certain format, in which case it could be more difficult. But yeah, typically speaking will always be the last on that. What books do you read? Right now, I'm reading a book written in a mixture of Hanja. It's like an old book. I think it's from, I'm going to guess it's from like 40 years ago. It's about the development of the acceptance, or I guess you say adaptation of Hangul. So it's like talks about how did Hangul start getting used more in Korea. and kind of about like the history of it and then how Korean, the language developed, and talks about kind of like that. But I just started. I think I'm like 9 pages in so far because it's really slow to read because I have to look up a lot of the Hanja words that I don't know, like people's names, or like I'll look up a Hanja word and like I know the individual letters, but the meaning of this phrase is like some other history piece that I didn't know. So I'll have to look that up. So yeah, it's a slow read. I'm confused about numbers in Korean. Neon links. There is a live stream about numbers. So I don't go into really detail about it, but I do cover all of the numbers in that. Are there 2 ways? Yes. So yeah, check out the live stream. I recommend trying to find dramas with Korean subtitles. For example, 첫사랑 처음이라서 on Netflix. I watch ones with Korean subs, ones with English subs. Yeah, if you watch dramas, that's great too. Just keep in mind, so I'll say one more thing, is that people have a goal of watching dramas in Korean without subtitles. It's a common goal people have. It is like difficult goals in Korean. There would be like, let's just say 3, 4, 5 goals. These are like common goals, and this number 1 will be the most difficult. Let's start with number 5. Common goals that people have is to chat with Koreans. Chat with Koreans. This is like the easiest goal you can have. It's not easy. I'm just saying, as far as goals, people say, oh, I wish I could just chat with Koreans. It's a difficult goal, but you can do it. Number 5 on my list. After that, I'm not really sure if I can think of 5. I know at least 3. After that would be something like maybe read Korean books. Such as like, I want to be able to like read Harry Potter in Korean, or, read some comics. I'll put comics here. Because you could read them pretty slowly. Another one would be like read and reply to Twitter messages. And then, have a bigger understanding of that, being able to read the news, stuff like that. So this would be like higher level. Like Twitter isn't necessarily difficult, but by that I mean you'd be able to understand a lot of context. You'd know slang, you'd know formal Korean, you'd be able to keep up with the news. Then you could also read books. You could also chat with Koreans. Then we start getting into the more difficult ones. Actually listening to Korean music, listening to K-pop without subs or without lyrics, without reading the lyrics. This is extremely hard. Like in English, it's hard too. Can you imagine trying to listen to like Michael Jackson's song without lyrics? Mama say, mama sa, mama fusa. Like, what are you even talking about? Then you read the lyrics. You're like, oh, I see some African phrase, I guess, or you're a vegetable. You're hey you. Like, these lyrics make no sense sometimes, and you don't know that when you're listening to them. So depending on the person, this can be extremely difficult. Being able to listen to K-pop and understand what they're saying, even with lyrics, being able to read K-pop and understand the song, like what they're actually saying, good luck. It can be really hard. And number 1 most difficult goal that I hear people say that they have for learning Korean is to watch Korean dramas or movies without subs. Well, without relying on the subtitles, I should say. No, this is after you're fluent in Korean. After you've lived in Korea, or you've been studying Korean for years. After you've learned beyond all of the grammar that I will be teaching in these live streams and more, all the grammar on my videos, all the grammar and all of those websites you find, Talk to Me in Korean, How to Study Korean, the other YouTube channels out there, Korean Class 101 or whatever, any of those channels. You've done TOPIK. You've taken the TOPIK test already. Beyond that, you can reach here. This is so much harder than doing this that it's an obtainable goal. Can I watch shows without subtitles? Yeah. But I've been studying Korean for over 14 years. So I'm watching a TV show called The Genius, which is just like, it's kind of like, if you know the TV show, the Japanese TV show Liar Game. It's kind of like Liar Game. They tried to make it into an actual variety show. So it's kind of fun. Anyway, I can watch that without subs. That's fine. But This is a really difficult level to achieve. And even within there's dramas, then there's variety shows. Variety shows are probably, a little bit easier, maybe down here or something like that. But dramas can be very difficult. They'll speak very quickly. They'll use lots of phrases. They want to make it sound as cool as possible. They'll purposely just however they can make it sound as cool as possible. That's how they write the episode. So this is a very high goal. So if you set this goal for yourself, rethink how much you're able to actually put into this goal. And sure, keep working toward it. If you're working toward this goal, eventually you'll get through everything. But it's just a really hard goal to reach. So sometimes what happens is people, they study Korean really hard and they get to here. They can chat with their Korean friends. This might be like advanced, low advanced level, or maybe high beginner level. I know some people who are like, mid beginner level, but they can have full conversation with Korean. Just depends how their grammar and vocabulary is. So yeah, you get up to here, you're like, great, I can speak Korean. I can talk with all my friends. I'm really cool. But then they think, oh, but I can't watch dramas without subtitles still. I guess I'm not very good. And then they don't realize this is like ridiculously more challenging than even something like this or this. So kind of put that into perspective that watching shows without subtitles is harder, specifically dramas and movies. Much harder than being able to chat with Koreans, because the Korean that people use on a day-to-day basis is very basic compared to the Korean you'll have to hear inside of dramas and songs. Dramas especially, just because there's so many words, I'd say. So yeah, that's my rant about Korean goals. But you can make whatever goal you have for yourself. Just be realistic about it. Understand that some goals take more work to get to. They have English text in the show to explain most plot points. Okay. I find watching dramas easier because I have been watching tons of them. I can still differentiate accents and slang. Yeah, you'll learn accents and slang too in dramas. Return of Superman. Yeah, that's a variety show. So I'd say I wouldn't put variety shows on that same difficulty level. I'd put them down with like level 4 or 5 and it depends on the variety show. Some variety shows are very simple. Like the audience is teenagers or young adults, or the people that are in the show are just talking with little kids, like Return of Superman, or there was another one before that, like Daddy Came Home. That used to be really popular. I don't agree with watching dramas with subs is the hardest. Everyone who has Topic 3 or 4 should be able to understand at least 80 to 90% of a rom-com. But that's not, 80 to 90% isn't very much though. If you understand 80 or 90%, that means you're not understanding anything that they're saying. All you'll get is the gist of it. Like you'll know kind of what the sentence was about. Like you'll hear, you're like, oh, pop, I heard that word. She's complaining, so she's asking him to make food. Okay, like that's all you'll get if you only get 80%. So you really need like 99% to be able to watch that. Return of Superman. Oh, okay. Maybe I thought you were talking about a variety show. Running Man. Yeah, Running Man, that's fairly new. Historical ones. Yeah, historical dramas wouldn't even be on that list. That's like above level 1. I would never be able to watch a historical drama without some help from subtitles. But like the fake historical dramas are fine. The ones that are set in the olden days, but they're not historical dramas, those ones are okay because they're just regular dramas where they'll throw in hard words. And then they always put a subtitle at the bottom. It'll be like, 아이고 세용지마, blah, blah, blah. They'll say some, really weird Hanja phrase. And then at the bottom, it'll have like, blah, 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 like, all the Hanja, and then it'll say what it means and stuff. So you can just read that while you're watching. You're like, oh, because Koreans themselves wouldn't know some of these phrases. They would know 세용지마. But I'm saying, for example, the Koreans themselves wouldn't know a lot of the phrases that they're saying either. So you don't have to feel bad about that. But for actual historical dramas, no, good luck with that. That requires learning the older style of speaking too. And I've learned some of that before, but it's not easy. It's really hard. So I don't watch historical dramas. I'm joking. I just pretend it's a drama. Okay, I was getting confused. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure Return of Superman was the show taking care of the kids. You say? Okay. Knowing Bros. I haven't seen that. Web dramas. Yeah, web dramas could be good too. And I found that web dramas, the topics of web dramas, because they're low budget, web dramas are another type of drama. Because web dramas are low budget, you don't have to worry about the complicated Korean that you usually do with regular dramas. So typically with a regular drama, you get really big set pieces, high budget. Scripts are written meticulously. You know, the characters say exactly what they should say. Very detailed, sometimes very long. Whereas web dramas, web series, you have, you know, a brand new director making his very first debut, a new writer who's never written before. And they do these kind of simple stories, so they're easier to follow along what's happening. They don't have as many crazy twists as a drama might have. As a result, you get a drama that's lower level. So that's not a bad thing. That's not a diss at web dramas. But you get something that's easier to understand. So you could be able to follow along a web drama and watch it maybe without subtitles, even if you can't watch a regular, like a high budget drama or a movie, you know, where they're speaking like really fast and using all these dialects and whatever they want. So web drama is kind of more down to earth, like a smaller version of a drama. And the same also goes for like morning shows, you know, like soap operas. Soap operas also are much simpler writing because they have to pump out a new episode like twice a week or 3 times a week or whatever. And they don't have time to go in and make their writing detailed. So they just write dialogue the way that a regular person would speak. So you get really basic Korean from variety shows, soap operas, which they'd call 아침 drama, morning dramas, and then web dramas. So those are also a good alternative. Anyway, I don't want to keep going on too long because now we've been talking for another 30 minutes. So remember to check out the Discord if you want updates about next live stream. I'll do a vote again, I think on Monday, maybe tomorrow. Monday, I'll put up the vote for this next week for what we're going to do for the topic. Thank you everyone for coming. Also welcome Rusty, the new member, and I will see you guys again. So now I just got to figure out how I can get out of this place because I got down here just by holding my breath, but I'm not sure if I can get up here without any equipment. Let me try to jump up. I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. Well, let me try something. 1, 2, 3. See you guys!